What if one of the strongest armies in history was built not in battle, but in the kitchen? This is the story of Sparta. It is a tale of warriors forged by more than just iron and steel. Their strength came from a place few would expect. Their discipline, their training, the very food they ate. We often imagine them only on the battlefield, a wall of bronze and muscle, unbreakable and unyielding. But their true power was cultivated long before the first spear was ever thrown in anger. It was born in the harshness of their childhood, reinforced with every simple, meager meal they consumed throughout their lives. This journey will take us deep into the heart of ancient Laconia. We will explore the unforgiving world of the Spartans. We will see how their society was engineered for a single purpose, to create the perfect soldier, strength, endurance, and unwavering commitment to the state. Every aspect of their lives, from birth until death, was meticulously controlled. At the core of this control was a diet so plain, so stark, that it would seem like a punishment to us today. For the Spartans, however, it was the very source of their legendary resilience. In this exploration, we will peel back the layers of myth that surround the Spartans. We will move beyond the heroic tales of battle to understand the men behind the shields. What you are about to discover is how their food culture was intricately woven into their military prowess. This is not just a list of ancient recipes. It is an investigation into how a specific diet combined with extreme physical conditioning can create a human being capable of extraordinary feats of endurance and strength. We will connect the dots between what they ate and how they fought. We will break down the biological impact of their diet. How did a diet low in variety and high in basic nutrients affect their bodies? We will look at concepts like fat adaptation, muscle efficiency, explaining in simple terms how their minimalist eating habits likely prepared them for the grueling demands of ancient warfare. You will learn how constant exposure to scarcity and a simple diet may have altered their metabolism and their ability to endure long marches and intense combat without the constant need for sustenance that modern athletes often require. Their bodies were tuned for brutal efficiency. Furthermore, we will delve into the powerful psychological conditioning that their lifestyle imposed. The link between food scarcity, discipline, pain tolerance is a central theme of the Spartan story. By denying themselves pleasure and comfort at the dinner table, they were training their minds to withstand any hardship. Every simple meal was a lesson in self-control. Every pang of hunger was a test of their resolve. This mental toughness, forged in the mess halls as much as on the training grounds, was perhaps their most formidable weapon of all. By the end of this journey, you will see the Spartan warrior in a new light, not just as a product of fierce training, but as a testament to the power of disciplined living and disciplined eating. We will reveal how their simple, functional approach to food built an unbreakable spirit and a body to match. The story of Sparta teaches us a timeless lesson. True strength is not about what you have, but about what you can do without. It is a powerful reminder that sometimes the greatest power comes from the greatest simplicity. Prepare to uncover the diet that built an empire. For a Spartan, the first test of strength came not on the battlefield, but on the day of their birth. Historical accounts suggest that every newborn was inspected by the Gerousia. The Council of Elders carried out the inspection. This was not a gentle welcome into the world. It was a cold, pragmatic assessment of the infant's potential to serve the state. The elders would examine the child for any sign of physical imperfection or weakness. If the baby was deemed healthy and strong, it was permitted to live and begin its journey. But if it showed any deformity or perceived frailty, its fate was sealed. The state had no room for weakness. This brutal practice set the stage for a life defined by physical excellence and unwavering service. The child deemed fit for Sparta was returned to its mother, but only for a short time. Even in these earliest years, the conditioning began. Mothers were instructed not to coddle their children. They were taught to raise them without fear of the dark. They were taught to raise them without fussiness over food. They were taught to raise them without the comfort of constant attention. The goal was to cultivate a spirit of independence and resilience from the very beginning. A Spartan child did not cry for comfort. They learned to endure silence and solitude. The early nurturing, or lack thereof, was a deliberate psychological tool. It was the first layer of the immense pressure that would shape a Spartan warrior. By the age of 7, the boy's life would change forever. He would be taken from his family and enrolled in the Agoge, the state-sponsored training regimen that was more of a crucible than a school. This separation was absolute. From that day forward, the state was his father. His brotherhood of peers was his family. The barracks became his home. The emotional bonds of a traditional family were systematically severed and replaced with loyalty to the Spartan collective. This initial phase of life was designed to filter out any inherent weakness and begin molding the raw material of a child into something harder. It was a clear message sent from the moment of birth. Your life is not your own. It belongs to Sparta. Every breath you take, every meal you eat, every ounce of strength you possess will be dedicated to the preservation and glory of the state. This philosophy, instilled before a child could even walk, was the bedrock upon which the entire Spartan military machine was built. The training had begun, and it would only grow more unforgiving. At the heart of the Spartan diet, shrouded in legend and revulsion, lies the notorious melis zomos, the black broth. This dish was the symbol of their culinary austerity, a concoction so infamous it both fascinated and disgusted ancient Greeks. Historical accounts, though vague, suggest core ingredients were boiled pig's legs, salt vinegar blood. The image it conjures is dark, murky, intensely savory, designed for function, not flavor. The quintessential Spartan meal was unadorned, challenging, utterly devoid of luxury. For Laconian warriors, this was not punishment. It was a daily sacrament of discipline. While the black broth captures the imagination, the true foundation of the Spartan diet was far more mundane. Like most ancient peoples of the Mediterranean, their daily caloric intake was built upon grain. The staple crop in the fertile Eurotas Valley was barley. It was hardy, reliable, and formed the bulk of the provisions each citizen contributed to the communal mess halls. Barley was versatile and could be prepared in several simple ways. Most commonly, it was ground into a coarse flour and baked into a dense, heavy flatbread. This was not the light, airy loaf we know today. It was a rugged, chewy bread that provided slow-releasing energy for a long day of training. The preparation of this bread was as simple as the ingredients themselves. Barley flour would be mixed with water, perhaps a little salt, and then kneaded into flat cakes. These would be cooked on a hot hearthstone or in a simple clay oven. The resulting product was durable and portable, a perfect food for a soldier on the march. Besides bread, barley was also commonly used to make a simple porridge or gruel. This would have been a staple meal, particularly for those in the Agoge or when other food was scarce. Beyond grains and broth, the Spartan diet was supplemented by the natural bounty of the Laconian landscape. Dairy, particularly from goats and sheep, played a significant role. Cheese was a vital source of protein and fat, more so than meat for the average Spartan. It was typically a simple, hard cheese, something akin to feta or a pecorino-style cheese. Its high salt content made it last for long periods without spoiling. This made it an ideal ration for soldiers on campaign, a compact and durable source of energy and protein that could be carried easily and eaten on the move. The most important fruit, by far, was the fig. Dried figs were a powerhouse of nutrition, packed with natural sugars for quick energy, fiber, calcium, and other minerals. Olives and olive oil were ubiquitous throughout the Greek world. Olive oil was even more crucial. It was used in cooking, as a source of calories, and as a multi-purpose tool. While the black broth was made from pork, the daily consumption of meat was not the norm for the average Spartan warrior. Instead, meat was a food reserved for specific occasions, religious sacrifices, festivals, or the rewards of a successful hunt. Hunting was a highly esteemed activity among Spartan men, seen as excellent training for war. It honed skills in tracking, stealth, and archery, keeping a warrior sharp and ready. A man who brought back game to share earned significant prestige. This practice supplemented their diet with high-quality protein and reinforced values of skill, daring, and contribution to the community. The limited availability of meat shaped the Spartan physique and metabolism. A diet primarily based on plants, grains, and cheese, with only occasional meat, resulted in lean, wiry bodies. They were not built like modern bodybuilders. Instead, they were built for endurance and functional strength, conditioned to perform without constant heavy, protein-rich meals. The primary beverage for a Spartan, as for all Greeks, was water, However, the most culturally significant drink was wine. But, in true Spartan fashion, they had their own unique customs regarding its consumption. Crucially, they always mixed their wine with water, often in a large communal vessel called a crater. Drinking wine undiluted was considered barbaric and a sign of utter lack of self-control. The young boys in the Agoge were often shown drunken helots, the slave class of Spartan society, to demonstrate the shame and foolishness of intoxication. For a Spartan, every sip of wine was a conscious choice, a small reaffirmation of his discipline and superiority over his own base impulses. The Spartan diet, when combined with relentless training, engineered a human physiology geared for unparalleled endurance. Meals centered on complex carbohydrates from barley provided a slow, steady release of energy. This was crucial for ancient warfare's demands, less about explosive bursts and more about sustained grinding effort. The diet was rich in fiber from grains, legumes, and vegetables, supporting appetite regulation and digestive health. Moderate, consistent protein from cheese, black broth, and occasional meat-powered muscle repair and maintenance, not for bulky mass, but for lean, dense, efficient muscle tissue. One of the most significant biological advantages conferred by the Spartan lifestyle was likely a state of metabolic efficiency known as fat adaptation. By consistently eating a diet that was not excessively high in carbohydrates and by enduring periods of hunger, their bodies would have learned to become exceptionally good at burning stored body fat for energy. This metabolic flexibility would have made them remarkably resilient to the uncertainties of military campaigns. The brain, fueled by a steady supply of ketones, an energy source produced from fat, can maintain a state of clear, stable focus, free from the mental fog that often accompanies low blood sugar. For a soldier in the chaos of battle, this unwavering mental acuity was a life-saving advantage. This biological state was not an accidental byproduct of their diet. It was the direct result of a lifestyle engineered for hardship. This fat-adapted metabolism was their secret biological weapon, a hidden source of endurance that allowed them to outlast, outmarch, and ultimately outfight their enemies. The psychological impact of the Spartan diet was arguably even more significant than its biological effects. From the earliest days of the Agoge, food was used as a tool for mental conditioning. By deliberately providing insufficient rations, the Spartan state taught its young boys to confront and master hunger. It taught a boy to separate his physical sensations from his emotional responses, creating a powerful distinction between feeling pain and being controlled by it. While soldiers from other, more affluent city-states might become demoralized by such deprivation, the Spartan felt at home. The communal eating in the mess halls further reinforced this psychological conditioning. Eating the same plain food as everyone else fostered a powerful sense of egalitarian brotherhood. This shared experience of austerity created an unbreakable bond, a trust that was vital in the shield wall. Ultimately, the Spartan diet was a tool for forging an identity. It constantly reminded a warrior that he was different, set apart from the rest of the world. In the Spartan worldview, pain was not something to be avoided. It was a teacher. The chronic, low-level pain of hunger was one of the first and most constant instructors a Spartan ever knew. This tolerance for the pain of hunger translated directly to the battlefield. A warrior who has mastered his own internal discomfort is less likely to be broken by the external pain of a wound or the sheer exhaustion of prolonged combat. The practice of encouraging boys to steal food, with severe punishment for being caught, created a direct, powerful link between pain and failure. The lesson was clear: pain is the consequence of weakness or lack of skill. That drove them to strive for excellence, to be smarter, faster, more aware. Facing the terror of battle, a Spartan was on familiar ground. A life of disciplined discomfort made combat the final exam, The psychological link between hunger and battle was the cornerstone of their mental armor, a shield as strong and vital as the bronze one he carried on his arm. We have journeyed deep into the austere world of ancient Sparta, moving beyond the myths of battle to the very source of their legendary strength. The Agoge, the daily training, and the mess hall all served one purpose: to forge members of the collective. Teaching a boy his life belonged to the state and his brothers. They ate a diet of profound simplicity, designed not for pleasure but for function, to build lean, resilient bodies and to nourish a mind master of desire. We connected diet to outcomes: complex carbohydrates for endurance, fat adaptation for resilience, and mental fortitude from scarcity. A Spartan was a master of self-denial, conditioned to thrive where others would break. Hardship was the system, a deliberate strategy to create humans impervious to comfort and fear. Ultimately, the Spartans show power from simplicity, discipline, and limits. Their ideology was their greatest weapon, the ability to do without. The world of ancient Sparta is distant and extreme, a society we can study but never truly replicate. Yet, their story holds timeless lessons that resonate in our modern age of convenience and excess. The first and most powerful lesson is the profound connection between discipline and freedom. The Spartan warrior, by mastering his appetites, his fears, and his impulses, achieved a form of internal freedom that made him formidable. In a world saturated with distractions and endless choices, the Spartan model offers a compelling case for minimalism and intentionality. It challenges us to examine our own lives and ask, what is truly necessary for our goals? What excess is holding us back? The Spartans also teach us about the forgotten strength of the collective. The phalanx was a perfect symbol of this, a formation where the whole was far greater than the sum of its parts, and where each man's survival depended on the man next to him. Ultimately, the story of what Spartans ate is about so much more than food. It is a story about the deliberate construction of human resilience. It shows us that the body can adapt to hardship and that the mind can be trained to master pain. The Spartan warrior was the living embodiment of the idea that what does not kill you truly can make you stronger. Their unbreakable army was not a gift of the gods, but the product of a culture that chose discipline over comfort, function over flavor, and the strength of the community over the desires of the self. They were forged by scarcity, and in that, they became legendary.